Thank you very much for joining me at this presentation. It's my first time presenting at VRIC in Vancouver, so great to be here, in a little late last night. But looking forward to giving you an update on hot chili and particularly some of the major catalysts which the company has been working towards for delivery this quarter. We're one of the largest independent copper developers in the world, holding arguably one of the largest and lower risk projects in the pipeline that is set for production in the latter part of this decade. So that's really meaningful to the copper sector, where we're sitting in a point in time where new large-scale supply is very hard to come by. I founded this company over 16 years ago. We've been 14 years on the market, and we're now dual listed onto the TSXV and the OTC. And we put about $240 million into developing Costa Fuego down on the Chilean coastline. As I mentioned, copper is a very critical part of what is about to occur in the global commodities complex. We've been sitting here at a moment where copper has been testing $5 a pound and really looking to be the key metal that will drive a lot of investment growth going forward. So on Costa Fuego, as I mentioned, this is a project that we've developed from scratch. We now have about 1 billion tonnes in resource, a very large investment in drilling, economics which are very strong, which are really reflective of this low elevation location which we've developed this project in, straddling the Pan American Highway, about 600 kilometres to the north of Santiago. For the past year and a half, we've been investing heavily in the completion of our pre-feasibility, which is due this quarter, and also developing some of our other strategic assets, very importantly, water access to the entire Huasco region, which not just enables Costa Fuego to be developed in one of the driest parts of the world where you're no longer able to take water out of the ground, but also perhaps being an important regional enabler to some of the largest undeveloped copper projects in the world which surround this project in the high Andes. So we have a pre-feasibility being delivered on that this quarter. And then on top of that, just before Christmas, not a lot of people read announcements a couple of days before Christmas, but we've also just announced a major new discovery which is being added to Costa Fuego and which is due to drive this resource base from 1 billion tonnes towards 2 billion tonnes, and certainly in a very elite class of superscale projects globally. This presentation, you're more than welcome to review online. I'll just be looking to focus on a few key points in this 10-minute presentation. We also have a lunch in about an hour and a half where I'll be getting a little bit more time to go into more depth on some of the things that are about to hit the market. Glencore is one of our largest shareholders. We have Osisko Gold Royalties as an investor in this project, and now we're building our shareholder base out in North America, moving into our final phase over the next 2 years to bring this to financing. So what is different about Costa Fuego to most of my peer projects is firstly elevation. This is really something that is key to delivering low capital intensity projects that don't require multiple billions of dollars to be built with high operating costs at 4,000 metres altitude. This can't be underestimated. Projects such as the ones just developed by Capstone at Manto Verde, those successful projects, they benefit from low altitude. So to have something of this scale on the coast in the hands of a junior is very unique, and I think you can appreciate where the project is from that cross-section. So over 10 years of de-risking on permitting has put ourselves in a great position to submit our environmental impact assessment. Most of the hard work and investment on the resource base and the permitting has been done, and we're sitting in a position to be able to submit our environmental impact assessment this year and go through that final phase. On the land holding map that you're looking at there, straddling the Pan American Highway, 50 kilometres from port, right next to electrical connection, which we've now been adding a very important part of our consolidation effort, the Domeyko Mining Centre. So this is a new area that is coming into the fold that will be joined into Costa Fuego and will no doubt underpin our strategy to turn a 100,000 tonne project in terms of copper production potential, and there's only 5 of those outside of the majors, into a project which will potentially be able to be lifted towards 150,000 tonnes per annum of copper production and some 50 to 100,000 ounces of gold production. So this is a large project that will be spitting out around about $1 billion US revenues annually, and is on track to deliver around a 20-year mine life for pre-feasibility. So the Domeyko Mining Centre is something new in the fold. Last year we were able to secure a very important part of that puzzle, the La Verde historical family-owned mine, and that is now going to be added to these 2 very substantial resources in Productora and Cortadera, which have driven that 800 million tonne indicated resource base, positioning Hot Chili well within the top 10 undeveloped copper projects in the world, but now about to move the project forward into that top 5 or top 6 undeveloped copper projects, which is really unique. So what did the first drill holes produce at La Verde? 6 years to get our hands on a central lease that could not be got by Hud Bay for 10 years. We took on most of the Hud Bay ground that they had down in this area, and we're now starting to pick off the family mines, which no one had consolidated and which had only been exploited for oxides. And our first 2 holes, really it was worth the wait, 202 metres from a shallow depth at 0.6 copper, 0.3 gold. We've got a drill rig on the ground that hasn't stopped. There's around another 13 drill holes coming to the market very shortly, and that drilling will continue all this quarter as we drill our first phase program, which has now been expanded. And as you can see here from this footprint diagram on the right, we see a footprint of our largest porphyry within our resource base, Cuerpo 3 at Cortadera, a 500 million tonne piece of our puzzle, and La Verde showing all the hallmarks of a very similar scale. So certainly the company is very excited to see those very high grades from 3 metres and 10 metres depth just underneath the shallow cover. So that's something that is adding a lot of excitement to this story and a lot of growth behind us. I won't talk about the PEA. We delivered last year, along with the Osisko investment in Hot Chili, a project that is capable, as I said, of producing around 100,000 tonnes of fine copper production a year and 50,000 ounces of gold at very low cash costs and one of the lowest capital intensities in the pipeline because of that low altitude setting, and uniquely the fact that the deposits can be processed using salt water rather than desalinated water. What I will be talking a little bit more on today, outside of the pre-feasibility that's coming on the copper project, is the importance of water to this project and the entire region. So as I mentioned, we sit in the Atacama, one of the driest locations in the world, where the government has pretty much ruled out the extraction of continental water for building new mines, and existing mines indeed transitioning towards desalinated water. So this has created one of the largest desalination and water investment locations in the world. So Hot Chili, through our foresight over 12 years ago, we made an application for a maritime concession to extract seawater out of the ocean for our Costa Fuego project sitting just outside of the Huasco Valley. At the time, we didn't know how long it would take. No one could really tell us. And actually, a number of lawyers on the other side of the table to us in a few negotiations had a good laugh about Hot Chili making a maritime application. So 10 years later, I guess Hot Chili is doing a lot of the laughing at the moment. It took us a very long time and a very long process to be able to secure now the only maritime concession in the Huasco region, and something that now looks like it will be unlocking some of the largest undeveloped projects by some of the majors around us. So we've now put all of these water rights, the coastal land accesses, the maritime concession to extract unlimited seawater, and new applications to upgrade that to a desalination licence also, and all of our easement corridors into a separate subsidiary called Huasco Water. We completed a scoping study which was very attractive last year, outlining around 4,000 litres per second of water demand in this region. And since then, we've been touching base with all of the neighbouring projects around us, notably some of the large projects from Teck and Newmont to the major projects of BHP and Lundin, right up at 4,500 metres on the Argentinian border. And so this is something that Hot Chili started talking about last year, and now the industry is talking about it a lot. It's very hard to build a mine if you don't have water. And so this is not just an asset that enables Hot Chili to build our mine, it's a very strategic asset that has become critical to all of those mines, all of this region in terms of other off-takers for agriculture, etc. And it's something we're about to show economics on for the first time, but is a very, very key part of the Hot Chili story in terms of how the company is able to finance a $1 billion copper mine without destroying itself by requiring huge amounts of equity. So strategic partnerships, those discussions are well advanced, and major off-taker discussions are also advancing in parallel with those feasibilities. So I imagine this quarter is going to be very rich for the company. We have 2 major pre-feasibilities coming out. We have a lot of strategic discussions going on with partners for both the copper and water, and we have a very exciting drill program that's progressing well. Thank you for your time.